18 months into the crypto bear market and you wouldn't be able to tell we're in the bear market. With Ethereum's largest European conference, a presidential candidate's crazy words, things are starting to heat up in crypto again. We cover all this and more in today's Collective Shift Weekly Recap. Actionable insights and a breakdown into the crypto market all in under 30 minutes just for you. We'll start with a market update followed by the conference updates. Matt, take it away with the market. What does it look like?
Thanks, Leon. It was a rather flat week for crypto, which we've been saying, recently, basically all of this year, to be honest. There's been a lot of flat weeks. So we've still got Bitcoin hovering around 30,000, as you can see on your screen there for people watching on YouTube. And then also ETH has sort of just been hovering around 1,900. So like for the past 7 days, we've got BTC down 2% and ETH down 3%. What has been notable, we have been commenting a lot about the very drastic weakening of the correlation between particularly US stocks and crypto. It's been one of the stories of the year, really, when in January, they were quite tightly correlated and now they're just about uncorrelated. What was notable was that actually last week was quite a bad week. One of the rare occurrences recently where there was quite a negative week in the US stock market. And, you might think earlier in the year, if that happened, we would have also seen, quite a big sell-off in crypto. But I suppose important takeaway is that weakened correlation held up to the downside as well. So we saw a really bad week in US stocks. However, BTC and ETH, they were down slightly, but typically you would have expected them to go down, quite more significantly. So that was notable as well. And then in terms of what the market's sort of anticipating, there has been pretty low volumes, and again, that sell-off could have been attributed to a bit of fear going into, a bit of uncertainty going into the Federal Reserve's rate decision this week. It's about, I think, on the 26th of July in US time, and the central bank there of the US is expected to increase interest rates by 25 basis points. So I think they notably sort of paused any rate changes last month for the first time in a long time. However, it looks like they're getting back on track and doing another increase next week, or this week rather. So as always, people will be watching very closely to see the commentary of the chairman of the central bank, Jerome Powell. People will be closely seeing, what his media press conference, what he's saying, anything he's changed in his commentary. And that will really, I suppose, dictate how the market assesses, I suppose, the outcome of this week's meeting. So, that's something to watch this week.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at the federal funds website here, and people are pricing in, about 99% of people are pricing in an actual 25% basis point increase. So people are expecting this to happen. It's probably priced into the market already. But once again, the interest rates just keep going up and up until they're able to pivot or they're able to just slow it down and bring inflation down. As always, we'll keep you guys updated on anything we think you really need to know. But thanks for the market update, Matt. Let's go on to some of the major news topics in the last week. We have Ethereum had one of its biggest European conferences last week. It was a really big turnout, lots of project announcements, and let's take our time. Let's go through some of these announcements now because it could affect you if you have some of these tokens in your portfolio, right? So I think first off, Nick, let's get started with Uniswap. I think they did come out with an announcement, didn't they?
Yeah, so the Uniswap announcement was probably one of the biggest announcements coming out of EthCC, which is, Ethereum's biggest European conference. So Uniswap Labs came out with Uniswap X, which is their take or their other half to the Uniswap platform. So the basic gist of this is that Uniswap has released a lot of versions over the years. They've released, V2, V3, and now V4. So one of the issues they're facing is there's a lot of liquidity that's separated, and it's quite a complex actual task if you're a user to try and know which one to use and how to get the best price when you're doing a swap. So what Uniswap is doing here is trying to create a marketplace to try and unite a lot of liquidity just so that everyone out there can get the best price possible. So this is massively significant because, as we all know, Uniswap holds about 60% of the DEX market share. So they've got the big distribution here. Now they're unraveling their sort of aggregator to aggregate a lot of prices, but they're going a step further and they're not just an aggregator, but creating this marketplace to try and unite a lot of all the liquidity, so anyone out there can get the best price possible.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And the way I see it, just to break it down for our listeners out there, think of it like a giant swimming center. There's lots of different swimming pools, and your kids will go swim in that one. Yourself will go and swim in that one. What they're trying to do is just create a giant swimming pool that everyone can go and swim in. There's lots of room to move, lots of liquidity for everyone. That's the way I kind of think about it, just to break it down. And then we'll move on to the next kind of big announcement coming out from the Ethereum European Conference last week was Chainlink. Now, Matt, you've got the scoop on Chainlink. What did they announce, actually?
Yeah, Chainlink finally announced CCIP, which is just short for the cross-chain interoperability protocol. So Chainlink is by far the crypto market's largest, just called Oracle solution. So really, it's just a piece of software. To dumb it down, just a piece of software that provides prices for really the whole crypto industry, particularly the on-chain side of crypto. So just like Uniswap, but actually not Uniswap, but other DeFi protocols that are out there. It's very important, integral part of the whole market. And they announced this really, really big solution they've been working on for, I remember hearing about this about 3 years ago, at least. So to really dumb it, to really try to simplify it, crypto has had a big problem of what are known as bridges. If I'm on the Ethereum chain, Nick's on the Avalanche chain, Leon's on the Solana chain, and we want to send money, by tokens to each other, that's been very hard to do. And the solutions that have been made for that have been targeted significantly by, North Korean hackers and just hackers out there. People have unfortunately lost a lot of money by using these, what are called bridges. This Chainlink solution, CCIP, is really trying to solve that by just, in very simple terms, like just connecting all of the blockchains where you just go through this one solution. And yeah, a big takeaway, there's a lot to it, but one big takeaway for me is that, hopefully, I think this will help make using crypto protocols a lot more secure. And I also noted there that the Chainlink team is hoping to get actual banks, so traditional financial institutions, sort of integrated with this CCIP protocol as well, which could be a real source of demand for the next wave of that the crypto market, in my opinion, inevitably goes on. So yeah, big news from Chainlink.
Yeah, that just goes to show all of these tokens and companies that are still out there, they're still building, right? They still are in the shadows. They're still making their products a lot easier, a lot more accessible for people to use. So it just takes a couple of years for all of these products to come out, be tested, and then, all of a sudden we have 1 billion users in crypto, and we have Chainlink to thank for them. So that's pretty good. But let's move on to our next one, which is from Nick. So Nick, I know at Collective Shift, we're very big on layer 2 scaling solutions. We think it is a giant narrative that has kind of started or will actually become very big in a later sense. But Nick, what's happened? There were some announcements with layer 2s, with Ethereum layer 2s. What's that about?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Ethereum L2s are just these networks that help Ethereum, people to use Ethereum without, the high costs to do so. They're sort of extending Ethereum in a way. So we saw Coinbase last week launch their mainnet base, and this was followed by big announcements at EthCC via a team at Mantle and a team that are building the Lena network. So these are two big networks that are highly funded. Mantle has something to the tune of, I think, 800 million, 500 million of sort of treasury funds to allocate to give teams to build on the network. And of course, this Lena network is backed by Consensus, which is one of the biggest and one of the earliest backers of Ethereum, when they launched initially. So big takeaway here is that they're big teams that have a lot of devs and a lot of manpower and a lot of financial backing that are creating and building on Ethereum. And they have a lot of, ammunition there to incentivize people to build on their networks and hopefully extend the usability of Ethereum. It really shows this narrative is kind of just getting started, which is crazy to think about it, considering that, we were covering a lot of these solutions back in 2021 and even the later half of 2020 when they were being talked about to be launched. And we can just see how slow they've been taken to get to, up and running, because these are still only soft launches. So you don't expect them to, if you use a highway analogy, to get all the cars on the road right away and everyone can access them. But at the moment, they're only letting selected people through, and there's certain barriers and requirements for them to let more people onto them.
Yeah, I know at Collective Shift, we've been actually covering layer 2 scaling solutions for quite a while. So if you're a member listening to this, make sure you go and check the articles. And if you're not a member, we have a lot of free resources on the platform for you to go and learn about layer 2 scaling solutions. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, and Ethereum is not going anywhere. So it's a narrative that will continue to unfold. So thanks for the update there, Nick. Now, Matt, I know something, the next one is a little bit dear and close to my heart. I want to be able to spend my cryptocurrency wherever I want. I want to be able to spend Bitcoin, spend Ethereum. Which company came out with an announcement, and what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, so the team behind Gnosis, which is anyone listening, it's spelled Gnosis. They released Gnosis Pay. So really it's a payment system, and importantly, sort of connected to that payment system is a physical card. So like it's a Visa. It is a Visa card at the end of the day. So it's I guess, yes, crypto's had this for over the last 5 years. They've had different types of these cards, but it's super, I guess, impressive and exciting about this one is that it is the world's first Visa certified self-custodial debit card. So what does that mean? This card is connected to your Ethereum wallet, for example, or whatever wallet you're working on with this Gnosis system. So again, that's a very major development, and something that was particularly, I saw a lot of excitement around at EthCC. It isn't connected specifically to the Ethereum blockchain. It's another blockchain, but nonetheless, like, it is still a lot of progress, and I'm excited to sort of see this. I don't think it's available in Australia, unfortunately, just yet, but I think it's more starting off in Europe.
Yeah, right on. And when it does get to Australia, you will be damn sure I'm going to be getting one of them, because I want to be able to self-custody my own crypto and go and buy a donut if I want at Krispy Kreme. Yeah, man. Now, thanks for that, Matt. Now, Nick, let's move on. We got another kind of layer 2 scaling solution with a bit of news. This is Starknet. What did they come out and say?
Yeah, so this is, as you said, another scaling solution extending Ethereum. So they come out and created sort of a framework to create your own applications on their network. So the way these networks work is that there are different security trade-offs and sort of different levels of abstraction you can have. So you can build on their network and sort of trade off security if you want for perhaps more usability if you are creating an application. And this is really interesting because it's kind of a competitor in a way to Cosmos, which is one of the biggest blockchains that you create your own app in, basically. And we saw that with DYDX, who are creating an order book exchange, and they're creating their own blockchain, in this Cosmos ecosystem. So we're really seeing the ability for these different networks to come out and to create frameworks that could potentially challenge some of these other blockchains out there. So, this one's one to watch, and Starknet have been a bit slow at the gate because of just their, high technical barriers that they're really working through, and it's been a bit of a slow slog for them.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes a while to get these developers and these applications actually working pretty well. But over here at Collective Shift, we've got time. We've got time to research and do the proper due diligence before we send you all of this information. But let's move on. Now, the last kind of thing we want to cover from the Ethereum European Conference was Vitalik. Everyone knows Vitalik. He's the main big daddy in Ethereum. He did come out and had a presentation. Something that is going to help a whole bunch of users. Now, Matt, what is he talking about, and what does account abstraction even mean?
Yeah, so Vitalik, he doesn't talk too often these days. He does a lot of work in the background and tries to get all Ethereum. There's a lot more, I suppose, Ethereum developers these days than just him. So when he does talk, people pay attention. And he focused this one on account abstraction, which we've talked about a bit previously. It's really just trying to make your wallet smarter, really. We had mobile phones, and now we moved to smartphones. Sort of drawing that analogy when you used to have your brick phone, and then when you went 10 years ahead and it became a smartphone. it's just sort of unlocked a lot more, I suppose, applications and made it easier to do certain things. Vitalik really focused on account abstraction in the sense that there's a lot of upgrades coming to Ethereum and that have come to Ethereum recently, where all of a sudden you're going to be able to start to do things where projects can almost like fund an ETH wallet to really try to simplify it, where if I'm bringing Nick and Leon, if I'm bringing both of you and trying to, get you to use this Ethereum app and you've never used it before, or you've never used Ethereum at all, you can actually, for example, sign up through a wallet, and your wallet, your first sort of initial few transactions, as an example, are already funded for you. And then therefore you can go in and actually get onboarded to this app while I'm at the bar with you, just sinking a few frothies. So I think this has been, honestly, it sounds simple, right? But this has been like one of the biggest barriers to the crypto space, where people can't teach people how to use apps in real time, because to sign up and use an Ethereum address, you need to have ETH in your wallet before you can do anything, which has been a massive pain point for crypto at large in the last few years, particularly. So yeah, Vitalik's talk about account abstraction, that was literally just one example of what you can do with account abstraction. There's heaps of other things, but yeah, there's even Visa, who did come out earlier this year, and they are on Ethereum testnet right now, working with this technology that was enabled earlier this year, with certain things called paymasters. So I did just write a bit about it for Collective Shift members last week, for anyone who's interested in all of that sort of stuff. But ultimate takeaway, Vitalik is quite optimistic about Ethereum and crypto at large becoming a lot more user-friendly, which is what we need.
Yeah, awesome. Everyone loves Vitalik. Every time he does open his mouth and says something, it's something really thoughtful, something impactful to the entire Ethereum ecosystem. But gentlemen, let's actually bring it all together here. I guess the question we want to ask is, why are we actually paying attention to this? Why are we deciding to cover it for you? I don't know if you guys have different opinions, but really it's just to show that Ethereum ecosystem is healthy, robust, it's building, right? And even for a bear market, this is tremendous amount of information, tremendous amount of announcements that have come out from a bear market. What's it going to be like in the bull market when we reach there next time? I wonder if you guys have any other thoughts, but that's what I think. It's just such a great and healthy signal for the Ethereum ecosystem. All right, moving on to our next major news item of the week. This is coming out from the US, the United States of America, where a presidential candidate, he's made some really big statements on Bitcoin. The things he says, these politicians, you can't always trust them 100%, but this guy is coming out with some pretty crazy statements. So Matt, who's the presidential candidate and what is he saying? Why do we care?
Yeah, Robert Kennedy Jr. made headlines in crypto headlines, at least last week, in, I think, really, to be honest, taking advantage of a pretty light news week. They came out and said a few things that were sort of optimistic for crypto. They said they had this plan, or Robert has this plan, to exempt Bitcoin from capital gains tax when it's converted to US dollars. And then he was also talking about this plan to start to back the US dollar with hard assets, such as gold, silver, and then he also mentioned Bitcoin. He said, perhaps that would start at 1% of the entire US dollars out there would be backed by these hard assets. Look, it's a US presidential candidate who has a very obviously familiar family name. I don't know what his odds are of sort of winning for the Democrats and being their lead sort of contender, but I guess there was something that sort of made headlines and made hopefully, my ultimate takeaway and hope from this is that it caused a few inquisitive people to sort of be like, oh, this guy's talking about Bitcoin, let's go over to Collective Shift and learn about what Bitcoin is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And I like the way you said it. One, does he have a shot at actually getting into the office? And two, is it actually going to be implemented? And that's my question to you, Matt, there. Is this actually achievable, right? Or it's just like a passing on?
it's technically possible, right? It is possible, but like, yeah, I would be totally shocked if he ended up becoming president, and then B, I'd be equally as shocked if something like this was able to pass. Yeah, I think my honest reaction when I saw his headline was like, oh no, like, he's going, you know, like, man, like, I actually was like, oh, he's like hurting his chances because he's going, I think, too
niche, too specific,
big, like, aggressive statement. Like, it's a bold. People like bold leaders, sure, but I think that was really, really bold. Almost like, I think I follow US politics super closely, but I know Bernie Sanders almost had that issue, I think, last presidential cycle, where he had a lot of fans, but he said some things that were super high conviction and like very out there. And I think I've heard people say that probably hurt his chances when he was against, I think, Hillary Clinton back then. So look, we'll see.
I know what you mean. And maybe his just tactic is going after the single issue voters in America. Anyone who's a Bitcoiner, of course, will want to vote for him if they're usually single issue voters. But anyway, yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he becomes president. Nowadays, anyone could become president of the United States. But let's move on. Nick, my friend. So Nick, let's talk about some US, while we're on the topic of the US, let's talk about US regulations and crypto. It's been touch and go for regulations in the US. What's the recent update? What's happening now in the US with crypto?
Yeah, so as we talked about in the last podcast, one of the biggest, I think, drivers for me was whether we're going to see more action on creating actual tangible rules inside the US to provide some clarity, because there's been a lot of confusion as the Ripple cases come out. One really interesting one is the bit of a hostile bill to try and get DeFi projects to follow much stricter rules, and kind of it attempts to regulate them like banks. So it puts on really big, compliance measures that banks would run, and this is to do with, like, making sure that knowing who's on the other side of these transactions, dealing with anti-money laundering, things like that. So this is something that I was anticipating a lot last year would come out, and we're sort of kind of seeing these risks again for DeFi. And I think DeFi is in for a really interesting period in the next 12 months to see exactly how things like Aave, synthetics, and all these other, DeFi platforms even fit into the law and how they operate. So we're seeing some potentially hostile news for DeFi maybe, but that one still has a lot to go, I think, because, before any tangible regulation comes to DeFi, I first think there needs to be an overall sort of market structure, clarity, rather than going for DeFi right away, which is in the next big item that was talked about a lot, is this crypto market structure bill, which is being talked about and circulating a lot, which was a real key, I think, a key pillar for the industry, especially in the US, to provide sound understanding of how digital assets and how cryptocurrencies fit into the current ecosystem. Like, what are the exchanges required to do? How do you transfer from, say, a very centralized launched cryptocurrency to something that is now decentralized and owned by sort of a group? So yeah, that one is the one I'm looking forward to the most, because I see the biggest potential, I think, for clarity in the market, and which could unlock a lot more interest and adoption by, big businesses who currently are kind of stopped from really getting into this because of really cumbersome laws and uncertainty.
Yeah, I definitely follow what you're saying there. Some companies just can't even remotely consider getting into DeFi or being a participant in the crypto space because they're just scared of the laws, and there are actually no laws around it. So how can they actually make sure they're doing the right thing? So I think once we do get that, clear regulatory frameworks in crypto, then we might see some more institutional adoption. I definitely follow you there. But let's move on to the rest of the institutional updates, which is XRP. Now, this is something that is a little bit light, but Nick, I'll let you take that away. What's happening with XRP and the recent SEC lawsuit?
This one's just a lot of, I think, calm has been about not trying to get overexcited, because, of course, these things can be appealed. And we already saw sort of the SEC come out, and they sort of soft said that in some other cases that perhaps the case was sort of, quote, wrongly decided. there's still a lot to play out here, where they will challenge this decision or not. But it is a signal that potentially, we're going to see this drag on for a lot longer.
Yeah, these court cases, it does take a while to actually fully resolve. We did get a summary judgment, but, things could change later on down the line. But don't worry, my friends, we'll keep you updated if there's anything we think you need to know. And moving on to the next thing, this is one thing I think you do need to know, which is the FTX Claims portal is actually live. We covered this last week as well. You don't have much more time left, so if you had any funds on FTX International, FTX US, the Blockfolio app, or any of the other FTX derivatives, such as Liquid, the Japanese exchange that got hacked and then FTX took them over. If you had a Liquid account, you need to go and file a claim now. The claims portal is live. So if you don't want to lose any crypto, make sure you go file your claim. And I'll leave it there, okay? We'll leave the link in the description down there for you. So let's move on then. Let's talk about the rapid fire of the week. Anything that's in the market that has been either overappreciated or underappreciated. Matt, I'm going to let you go first. What did you think was overappreciated or under?
Yeah, so I think this is worthy of a bit of attention. Is Bitcoin has officially the 800,000th block has been added and mined, and I suppose added to the end of the Bitcoin blockchain, if you will. Why is this significant? I think it's, when you consider there's one block roughly every 10 minutes, so 800,000, that's quite an achievement. That's going back 14 years or so. It's also significant with the halving coming up. So when a Bitcoin miner is successful and they do mine a block for Bitcoin, they get a certain amount of Bitcoin, the currency, per block. Skip ahead to I think about April next year or May, and that will on that day in April or May, that will all of a sudden halve, and that happens roughly every 4 years. So we're up to about 19.5 million Bitcoin, the currency, that are out there in circulation at the moment. There's 21 million is the maximum supply. Getting once that halving keeps happening every 4 years or so, you can see how the slope of the chart, if you will get closer and closer to 21 million, but it'll get dragged out very, very over long spans of time just to get probably an extra 1 or 2 Bitcoin. So it's an exciting achievement. I can see a lot of the Bitcoin community really celebrating today.
Yeah, man, we should have a giant party when we hit the millionth block. That would be actually pretty cool. We should have a million block party. And anyone who's like a 1 Bitcoiner would have special access, RSVP. We can dream. Now, Nick, let's go on to your news that you thought people should really know about this week. Let's hit it.
Yeah, this one is the Nasdaq, which is one of the biggest stock exchanges in the US. They're a private entity. They come out and put on ice their crypto custody play and entry business. So they said that it's, quote, not the right time to get involved with it, citing a lot of regulatory uncertainty. So this was one that I was really looking forward to and put it on my list as, a big thumbs up for the industry when we're seeing big institutional players want to get involved in crypto custody, seeing the need in the market and preparing to take that leap into it. So now we're seeing them pull out and put it on ice. This to me is more of a sign of the real pressure that's on government at the moment to regulate cryptocurrency in the industry, because we're seeing big names like Nasdaq putting on hold crypto custody, which is actually one of the biggest issues we have in this space, getting well thought out, really transparent and really trusted custodians to help bring the space forward. A lot of big institutions, I know Dow would have trusted Nasdaq to be that crypto custodian, and I'm just seeing other examples like PayPal who are putting on their stablecoin on ice. We're seeing just time after time businesses kind of
Amazon
get in the face of these regulatory uncertainties. So I'm really actually super excited once that clarity hopefully does come, and perhaps we do see maybe at the start of the next bull market a big crypto wave that's unlocked with businesses like PayPal. If they bring out their PayPal stablecoin, we're seeing Amazon bring out NFTs. We're seeing Nasdaq finally launch their crypto custody. I'm just seeing this as potential catalyst for that next bull market, and what I guess greater clarity can bring to the market and what that looks like.
Oh man, it'll be exciting times when they all actually decide to pile in Remember, no one wants to be first, but then no one wants to be last. So when the floodgates open, my God, it's going to be crazy. Thanks for sharing that, Nick and Matt. So I'll just share something very quickly, just a little shameless plug for all you listeners out there. What I think is underappreciated in the market right now is the vast amount of free resources we have for you over on the Collective Shift platform. If you're a beginner, intermediate, or an advanced user, if you like DeFi, if you want to know cold storage, we've got resources all free. You don't need an account. You can go ahead and look at all these resources to see and guide you on your crypto journey. And lastly, we have also just launched a free new beginners course. It takes you from 0 to 1 in Bitcoin. So if you don't know anything about Bitcoin, you got to take this free course. It's absolutely just free. Just nothing else free nowadays. So go ahead, take the course and see what it's like. And if you like it, that's it. You look at a membership with Collective Shift. So I'll leave it there, guys. There's a whole bunch of free stuff for you there. Go ahead and dig in. But that's a wrap for this week, my friends. If you are looking for more insights, make sure you check out our revamped weekly Shift newsletter, providing free weekly market insights every Friday. You got to subscribe at collectiveshift.io/newsletter. That's collectiveshift.io/newsletter. We'll see you very soon.